Phenomenal week and an awesome Thursday. Facebook, so happy to have you spend a few minutes of your evening with me tonight to dive into another popular fad diet that if you haven't seen already, you're bound to see in the very near future as the diet craze to kick off the new year to fulfill everybody's New Year's resolution is underway and will only grow stronger here in the coming weeks. Now, this evening, we are going to discuss the anti-inflammatory diet. And again, similar to Tuesday's discussion on the blood type diet, I'm going to break down some of the facts, how it came about, some of the purported benefits of this diet, why the founder or the creator, if you will, believes so strongly in this approach. And then, as always, I'll give you my 2 cents. Now, with that said, bringing up a couple stats here so I don't butcher this, but the anti-inflammatory diet was founded or created, if you will, by Dr. Andrew Weil. And if you're familiar with the Mediterranean diet, which emphasizes, your leafy greens, it's more of a moderate fat-based diet, a lot of olive oil, fatty fish, olives, things of that nature. And of course, they put a special place for red wine. If you're familiar with the Mediterranean diet, well, good news. You're also familiar with the anti-inflammatory diet because it is almost the exact same thing. And Dr. Andrew Weil himself, he says in his own words that it looks very similar to the Mediterranean diet, except for a few extras such as dark chocolate and green tea. Now, at first thought, you're probably thinking, we've got tons of fat, we've got wine, we've got dark chocolate and tea. What could be so bad about this diet? And hey, I agree. There's some super health foods in there, if you will, a very good focus on nutrient-dense items. And Dr. Andrew Weil's approach with his anti-inflammatory diet is a well-balanced approach. Actually in 2 ways. Number one, it's well-balanced and then it focuses on wholesome foods, whole grains, healthy fats, adequate fruits and vegetables. He really stresses fruit and vegetable intake because of the benefits of the phytochemicals found in these nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables. And phytochemicals are naturally occurring nutrients found in these plants that exert several positive health benefits, in particular related to slowing down the aging process and fighting against various cancers and diseases. And that is one of the major focal points of the anti-inflammatory diet. Secondly, when I say balanced approach, what is unique about the anti-inflammatory diet compared to some of the other traditional diets out there, or even how you approach basic nutrition, is the timing and distribution of food intake. For those of you that are very interested in your exercise regimen, you may prioritize your carbohydrates as your pre- and post-workout meal and have very few carbohydrates at those meals further away. Well, Dr. Andrew Weil recommends that you have a very balanced approach with your 3 macronutrients at every single meal. So that means a balanced ratio of protein, carbohydrates, and fats at breakfast 2, at your pre-workout meal, your post-workout meal, dinner, and your bedtime meal, and so forth, depending on how many times you eat per day. So a neat little caveat in that. Not to say that that is an optimal approach by any means, just pointing out something unique about it. Furthermore, he recommends that 40 to 50% of your calories come from carbohydrates, 30%, which again is pretty high, comes from fat, and 20 to 30% of calories come from protein. So as I mentioned, this is certainly a moderate fat diet, which again stands out from some of these other approaches we're used to seeing in the media, especially when it comes to fat loss diets. Now, as I'm sure you could guess by the name, the anti-inflammatory diet, the purport or the foundation of these nutrient recommendations are based on the fact that, inflammation is the root cause of several disease states and cancers. So by eating wholesome, nutrient-dense foods that have anti-inflammatory properties, you help to reduce some of this chronic inflammation that leads to so many disease states and cancers. Well, aside from the Mediterranean approach, Dr. Andrew Weil has created a couple other unique nuances, if you will, in his particular approach. And I already mentioned the focus on fruits, but he also wants you to focus on wholesome high-fiber carbohydrates, cutting down saturated fats, and focusing on unsaturated fats, eating a variety of colorful fruits and vegetables, and omitting fast food and any form of processed food altogether. He then takes this approach one step further, and he recommends only drinking purified water, no more tap water for you or me. Psh, I'll literally drink out of a tap from anywhere. But he recommends doing this to avoid toxins such as chlorine and chloramine. He recommends you choose tea over coffee, particularly white, green, or oolong teas for their antioxidant benefits, and consuming dark chocolate with 70% cocoa powder or more. Now, that's a lot of guidelines and a lot of restrictions, but let's begin and focus on the pros of this approach. Pretty straightforward. The focus is on wholesome, nutrient-dense foods, which should be the foundation of anybody's nutrition approach, regardless of what name or label you put on your quote-unquote diet or eating lifestyle. Hard to argue with that. So many health benefits. We don't need to elaborate much further. However, where I kind of get tripped up, if you will, is there's nothing really inherently different about Whale's anti-inflammatory diet. It's just a nutrient-based, wholesome food-focused approach to eating. Sure, there are a couple nuances like the water, the tea, etc., but otherwise, it's just healthy name wrapped up in a box with a bow on it and then marketed appropriately to sell books, meal plans, recipes, coaching, yada, 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 etc. So my, issue, if you will, is we're taking a wholesome, healthy approach to nutrition and marketing it, you could say intelligently, to be something bigger and better than it really is, and forcing people to spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on just healthy eating. I mean, that's great, but you can find all this information on the internet or through a trusted nutrition source. You don't need to buy book after book after book. Though I will say, if you are to buy one of these products, it's probably a great starting point as an introduction to healthy eating if you have no formal background. Otherwise, it's nothing special. Keep that in mind. It's a great way to focus on wholesome, nutrient-dense foods, and it may be a good starter diet, if you will, so you're exposed to eating in a way that is nutrient-dense and sustainable. Otherwise, not too much to it. So that is the anti-inflammatory diet in a nutshell, plus my 2 cents. If you have any further questions, feel free Instagram to direct message me, Facebook, feel free to comment me, send me a message, and let me know your thoughts, your questions, comments, or concerns. Otherwise, have a fantastic end to your week, a wonderful evening, and by the way, one big last announcement. I am currently doing a giveaway on Instagram. If you go to the Instagram page, Paul Salter Coaching, you'll see a post of the cover of my ebook, A Dietitian's Dozen Fat Loss Tips. And hey, if you want a free copy, tag 3 friends below, and I will draw a winner at random tomorrow evening at 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I'll message you on Instagram if you are a winner. I'll ask for your email address, and I'll send that sucker over to you as soon as possible. Thank you, as always, for spending a few minutes with me this evening. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.